Have you always been able to hit the ball that far, or have you really like picked up a bunch of yardage the last few years?
No, I definitely did into junior golf. In high school, I probably got a little longer. I've always kind of been off the ground. And,
Yeah, you've always swung so hard.
But
at
I've
the ball.
needed to because I've been really tiny. So it was kind of one of those things like swing hard, and then you eventually, I grew into myself a little bit. I would say once I got to end of high school and then college, I was maybe on the longer side compared to who I was playing with, but it took a little while. I need you to stand with me every warm-up.
I mean, this is unbelievable. I don't think you've missed a shot yet. One of the problems is it just breaks down right here. Left arm, can't get the turn without it just going up here, and then on the way down it's like here, it's in tight.
We're doing this warming up tomorrow. It sounds like just for your own golf game.
Yeah.
You just want to get JT's to pick your...
JT, Justin, how long you got? Because I don't need you to fix anything. I just want to talk it through. Like, what's cool about having Justin Thomas on the range? Well, he's a creative guy. He can hit every shot. There might be a little wind up here. We're out in the open. We've got a zillion different targets. So if we can get him to, even if we can just get him to explain, okay, here's what I'm thinking on this 65-yard wedge shot. All right, now we're going to a target that's 230. Here's what I would do with this long iron, and then tell him, all right, hit it. When would you hit a cut? When would you hit a draw? And then what do you do to make that happen? I'm excited to see Justin. I've spent a lot of time around him. I've not spent much time with him, if that makes sense. That sounded a little intimate, didn't it? All right, we've got 15-time PGA Tour winner, 15? Two-time major champ, and most importantly, Netflix Cup champion.
That's right.
Mr. Justin Thomas, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
So, where are we right now? What are we doing?
We are at Panther National. Yeah, the grand opening. It's been I don't want to say a long time coming, but it's a cool process, and it's kind of hard to believe that we're here today for this day.
And I think what we want you to do is christen this pretty unbelievable driving range by just walking us through how you would warm up, I guess, before a tournament round of golf. How do you start? What's the first thing that you do? And how long is it before your tee time?
So hitting balls is like the last thing on my warm up. I mean, I would say I'll hit a couple putts before I go, but it's always putt, chip, hit balls, putt. So depending on, we'll have some places where, you have to shuttle from the range, or it's close by, or maybe it's a great range, or it's not, or whatever it may be. But I generally will hit balls anywhere from I would say high teens to 30 minutes, just kind of depending on, sometimes it'll be where if I play early, late or something like that, and it's like, hey, I'm tired, I've had maybe a couple weeks on the road and I want to do some practice afterwards, but I'm tired, so I'll just maybe give another 5 or 10 warm-up minutes in my warm-up the next day to work on whatever I wanted to work on.
I completely forgot the most important part of our segment here, which was we brought you this gift. This is you right here. Now that you're kind of a construction guy, we like to give a gift to every one of our guests, but we don't have a very big budget, so we got this at Walmart yesterday.
Yeah, I like that.
So this is just a little something you can kind of put on your desk.
Did you pick that out yourself?
Yeah.
What was it between that or what?
There was a green tractor.
Okay.
But that didn't have a guy in it, so we thought you'd like.
I appreciate that.
He's got the construction hat on and everything. I might have just broken it. Yeah. All right, what club are you holding here?
I have a 60 degree, so I spend, I would say, at least half of my warm up on my wedges. I mean, probably 70% of my warm up on my really short irons, my scoring club. So I generally don't use my warm up as something as like a sign of like what's to come. I think you can get kind of worked up or a little concerned maybe going into a day if you don't warm up well. So
did that take some time to learn?
It definitely did, but it's kind of been a learning experience for me, because I've had some of my best rounds and best tournaments after some of my worst warm-ups.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to be said when you go out on a course and you don't have any expectations and you're just kind of
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's still, like, I've heard a lot of people say that, and I guess I've experienced it too, but it still doesn't quite make sense to me. But yeah, maybe it is an expectations thing, and then you just go out and you're like, all right, this is what I've got today.
Yeah, for me, there's definitely going to be times where I can feel, like I said, I don't use my warm-up as something like, oh, wow, I'm hitting it good, like we're going to get aggressive today. But there's just times when I can feel, you know, if my timing's good, or there's some times where, you know, I hit it and it feels solid, you're like, oh, that's nice, and you look up and it's just not in the window you want, and sometimes it's the alternative. So I kind of generally will start very similar based off of maybe some things here and there, but then truly, just kind of try to work into some rhythm. But for me, I know on some of my bad warm-up days, if you will, I mean, I remember, you know, saying in past, like with Jimmy or with Bones now, I'm like, hey, you know, I'm not very comfortable right now with what's going on in my field, so like let's just play conservative until I kind of find something. And I've found that it's actually something I remember I learned from Jack Nicklaus, is he's like, you can't have the same game plan of a golf course. It's just not the same, because you're gonna, you know, I think an Open Championship is a good example. You could go there playing one wind direction, and this is how you play it, and then all of a sudden the next day you're maybe not playing well, and it's an opposite wind direction, so you can't have the same game plan. So it's kind of working into something.
So right now you're kind of hitting some little, what, 3/4 wedge shots?
Yeah, so
just focusing on contact, or what are you thinking about?
Kind of a feel. I mean, I generally will warm up like with a TrackMan or a quad to try to, you know, try to hit wedge numbers, because I mean those are obviously very important. But for me, my warm up yardage is like 60 yards. It's just a feel that what it is to me. It's probably not what it is, but it's just, I'm not necessarily like a clock, you know, wedge kind of person. It's like I think in my head, okay, 80, 83, and then I just would like to think I practice enough
83
to know
yards or 83 like percent?
83 yards.
Okay.
But 60 is one of the few shots, if you will, where I feel like I have kind of like a cue. And to me, it's not what it is, but it feels like the bottom of my club is pointing at my left foot. So I take it back, and then when I feel like that's pointing at my left foot, then I go. And that, over time and practice and tracking it, is 60 yards. So
cool.
It's amazing. You wouldn't think you have 60 yards that often, but it's wild how often it just kind of snuck its way in there to some pretty important times in my career.
How long have you been working on this project, Panther?
A couple of years, it seems.
Yeah.
It's it kind of all blends together, but is this
something you always knew that you wanted to do? Design?
I think it's something I knew I wanted to do, but I don't, it's not something I was like, okay, I want to do when I'm 30 years old, because I think, at least for me personally, I generally look at it as it's a post-career kind of thing. But this was an unbelievable opportunity with obviously one of the best of all time in a place that's 30 minutes from my house.
Right.
So it was a no-brainer, to say the least.
Yeah, I was thinking driving in this morning how wild it must be that, okay, now people are going to come play this golf course, evaluate it, join as members, build their homes here, partly based off of you, the decisions you've made, your reputation.
That's scary when you put it that way.
I mean, it's just a big deal. There's a gravity to it that I think is it's a little bit different than I don't know, just playing tournament
Yeah,
golf.
for sure.
All right,
So,
where are you going next here?
I mean, it's again, it'd be something where I'd be going through.
Yeah, we can skip a couple steps, but
Yeah, I'd be going 60, and then I'd hit probably, I'd kind of inch my way up after the 60-yard shots. I'd maybe do some 70s, some 75s, 85s.
And are you hitting at a target when you do that?
Sometimes, but honestly, not really that much. I think it's kind of more getting the feel and getting, you know, I mean, little things like just, you know, finding the bottom and just, you know, making sure the contact, making sure everything feels, the tempo's good. It's more of that and loosening my way up a little bit until I get up the bag. But I got an 8-iron
You're holding
here.
8-iron. Do you feel loose at all, by the way? Have you, like, were you in the gym this morning the way you would be before?
I was, yeah.
Tournament
So
round?
I've tried to get in the habit of doing what I do before tournament rounds and actual golf tournaments when I'm at home. You know, I've really started to do that in pro-ams because I essentially was just playing so bad in pro-ams, or I was just not. And finally my dad was like, all right, well, like, there's one of two things. Either one, you just need to get over how you're playing, or two, you need to actually treat this seriously because you're not going to the gym, you're not warming up, you're hitting like 12 golf balls and you're going to the tee, and then you're getting pissed off how you're playing.
Yeah, you
He's
still
like,
get
so
frustrated.
He's like, you just need to do one or the other kind of thing.
Thanks
for coming out.
No, I'm sure he's not.
No, they did that this morning.
What's up, dude?
Let's go over here.
All right.
So generally after I do my wedges, once I get to my irons and what I warm up with, usually I'll just do evens or odds. So I'll go 975 or 864, but once I get to the irons is usually when I kind of do my 3-piece drill, kind of like what I call it, where you know, I'm trying to get this position consistent and in a good spot. And obviously this is nothing I'm not very concerned with what the ball is doing or the contact, because this is very clearly not a normal shot.
Sure.
But it's just more of kind of feeling in my head, okay, it's like I take that back, is that where I want it? And you know, if I'm
find
really
that spot.
working on width, maybe I'll really exaggerate this.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm convinced that I could like sneaky play around a golf like this.
Totally.
I wouldn't do it competitively, but I've hit enough balls with it where I can get it around.
Is that something you've had for a long time, or is this something you've been working on more recently?
It kind of comes and goes. I think I started doing it in 2018. It was like literally a part of my pre-shot routine.
Yeah.
And I kind of go back and forth. I'm not doing it now, but it's just, it's wild when you do something repetitively that often, how much easier or how much more often it happens without you thinking about it. So that's kind of the thought process for me, is I just want this to just be such I don't even need to think about it, and like my muscle memory just knows, because if I get it in a good spot here, it helps with everything else. It
becomes more automatic.
Versus if I'm, you know, kind of like this year, I was getting this really shut and really kind of steep and sucked inside. So then from there, it had to go this way, and that's when I was doing. So it's like, need to start, you know, getting this part is good, but if all the other stuff is not great, it's going to be hard for that part to be as consistent. Usually just hit a couple of these. And after I feel like I've somewhat gotten that feel down, I'll just start hitting some, again, very similar to what I do with wedges. I'll hit numbers, but you know, then I'll hit some different shots where it's like, okay, you know, that there's a couple holes out here where I really, you know, feel like I have some 8-irons into the green. So let's hit a couple different 8-irons. So then maybe, you know, hit a couple different shots, like maybe flight one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, all right, yeah, talk us through you just try to like flight that down a tiny bit since you're going into the wind?
Yeah. So it's, I mean, that's another thing that's, it can be tough if you have maybe, I mean, this would be a good example with the wind coming off the left like this. You'd be amazed at how the things that you adjust and do without even thinking or trying to. I mean, if the wind's like this and I'm hitting balls, I'm gonna subconsciously close the face coming down because I don't want it going right. And you know, sometimes I'll even kind of end up doing it this way. So And as a cutter of the ball, when I get warming up in a left to right wind, it's not good for me because I go away from what I do. So often in warm-ups, I mean, I've always said I'm a very entertaining person to watch warm up because I hit some pretty, I don't want to say bad shots, but not straight.
Yeah.
Because it's like I'm trying to not necessarily get
Dialed in on that exact
yeah,
thing.
I'm not trying to hit a perfectly straight shot here.
Okay.
It's like, okay.
All right, so you're picking a target right now. What
Yeah.
like what shot are you seeing right now?
So like I'll just hit kind of like a stock shot here,
Okay.
which generally I would want it to kind of start at that pin and just have a couple yard fade.
Yep.
But with this amount of wind, it's really gonna slice. But
Yeah.
again, it'd be something where I'm like, okay, I'm not worried about it. I'm just gonna hit my stock shot here. That's where, you know, it's starting at it and
Just falling a little bit right in that
it
wind.
keeps going, and it's like, oh, well, obviously if that's on the golf course, if I'm going to that pin, that's not good, but I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
And then I could do the alternative of like, okay, well, maybe on the course I will want to hold one. So I'll put it back in my stance and I'll try to hit like a little low draw.
I like that. Just drawing a couple yards and then it's kind of falling back
Yeah.
to the right in that wind.
So, I mean, I think Tiger does it a lot in his warm-up of hitting, and I've kind of learned from that as watching him hit shots because it's something I do on the golf course already, so I don't need
Yeah.
to step up here and, you know, be robotic, and I am trying to get a little bit of a feel and kind of get my hands going.
Are you hitting a different shot every time, essentially? Like, do you feel like, okay, I have a stock 8-iron shot, or is it just like you never actually really hit a stock 8-iron?
I mean, in a perfect world, I would say I want it to just have a little bit of fade on it. I mean, that's when I feel like I'm playing my best, the ball comes out very straight and almost just falls a little right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think DJ does it unbelievably too. I mean, the amount of times I've played with him and you'll get this tuck left pin and he'll just start the 7-iron at the left edge of the green and it'll cut a couple yards and land in between the fringe and the hole. And it's just like, if that's what you know what you're gonna do, then
It's really simple, yeah, when you put it like that.
Yeah, I wish it was that simple, but I'll hit a couple 6-irons
All right.
here.
Yeah, that flag we shot is 192.
I was gonna say it looks. I don't think I will be able to get a 6-iron.
Yeah,
there,
into the wind right now.
So it's kind of the same thing. I'll hit a couple different shots here. I'll try to flight one and kind of let it drift to the pin.
Okay.
Woo! Now, you can see how strong that wind is.
Yeah, it really is. Oh yeah, you
Distance
got
was
there
good
though.
there.
Pin high.
Stronger than I thought.
How's your body feeling? You were in South Africa. You were in Las Vegas.
It's not bad. It feels a lot better this morning.
Yeah.
For me, when I travel international, like if I can get just a good sweat, it helps. It's like a reset. So like,
Yeah.
I did about 30 minutes in sauna, get the cold plunge, and like I feel way better. But it's like if I can get a good workout in, like a bike, something that almost can just like
Cleanse you?
that's at least the thought.
Yeah.
It helps me, obviously, to each their own, but try to go the opposite here. A little
right.
bit of a hold.
God, that's so good. That is on a string. I might go in. Get in. So what are you doing to make it draw? To hit a little draw, other than think draw.
I
Is there
mean,
anything that you do?
I definitely am going to put it back in my stance because
Okay.
that's going to naturally take the path to the right. I mean, my dad is big on not wanting to change too much. So, I mean, if I'm hitting a normal shot and this is my setup, if I just make the same swing, but I just move it back in my stance,
Yeah.
it should start
And that's
right.
only like a couple inches back
Exactly.
or something.
And it should naturally just start a little right and then hold.
That one did.
And then you could do the alternative of like, obviously that's going to keep a little lower flight, but I could have, you know, here my normal setup. And then if I move the ball up,
Okay.
this is obviously going to go way higher, but it's going to start quite a bit further left and cut a good bit.
Yeah.
So it's like
What's the difference in like carry yardage you think there between the low one and the high one? I guess it all depends on the wind. But
yeah, I mean, I'd say the higher ones I subconsciously end up hitting harder without even trying to. So if I hit a flush one, a high one, I'll get a couple yards extra out of it. And obviously the low, not in the air as long, doesn't carry quite as far.
Are there shots that you draw on from like throughout your career that then you see another shot in a tournament and you're like, oh, this is just like that shot?
Yeah. I mean, more than anything, it's like I'm comfortable. You need to play or hit like what you're most comfortable with, right? Like I think some players go in and out of it, but I know I've played a couple like team events with Jordan, and he said, you know, for him, sometimes playing the right shot or playing the correct shot isn't the right shot. There could be one that's not, like, again, going back to kind of that example of cutting it to a left pin, that might not be the correct shot, but if that's what I'm more comfortable hitting, that's the correct shot at that given time.
Becomes the correct shot. Interesting.
But, you know, over the years, I have a lot of, fortunately, I kind of, you know, I'll have, like, say, a memory bank of some shots. Like, I mean, whenever I think of like 190-yard 6-iron, like I remember the first year, my first win in Malaysia on 15, it was like it's a really kind of tucked pin in the back, and it was like just 190-yard 6-iron, which has taken about 10 off, but I was able to just start like kind of left edge of the green and just kind of cut it. And it's, you know, that's something that, yeah, I mean, it happened, 8-9 years ago, but I still remember that was a 190-yard 6-iron.
Yeah, you're still smiling a little bit just thinking about it.
Yeah, it was a good shot. I liked it.
And gentlemen, your official opening tee shot by Jack Nicklaus himself.
This year, when things were like a little harder than they've seemed at any point in your pro career, what was different about how you felt, I guess, warming up and being at the golf course and dealing with everything mentally?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I guess a lot of different things, but it's confidence first and foremost. I think there's something to be said about guys who maybe don't have the resume, if you will, compared to other guys that go out there and just beat their brains in kind of thing, because they think or they know, whether it's true or not, that they're better. And having confidence is so big in this game. I mean, I think of somebody like Wyndham as a perfect example. He's always been a great player. I mean, he's been great at every level he's played at, but he didn't necessarily have any wins of that stature. And I played with him at Torrey Pines the beginning of this year. And it is a different golfer than the Wyndham Clark that I played with at the end of the year. You know,
really?
Since he won Charlotte, he won the U.S. Open, like it, as he should. He's got a lot of confidence. Like, he's not cocky, he's not arrogant, but he's like, he knows that he's one of the best players in the world, and rightfully so. So it's a crazy game we play, to say the least.
I know, because it seems like you need to play well to boost that confidence, but then you need that confidence to play well.
Yeah.
So I don't know which one starts that cycle.
Yeah, it's like, sports psych always says, Julie, she's like, is it the chicken or the egg? It kind of depends on who you ask, but I'm still a believer that you can, I don't want to say fake, you can almost have like fake or a little delusional confidence.
Yeah, you kind of manufacture that confidence.
But at the end of the day, if I can't step out here and I can't hit the yardage I need to hit with the club and the shot shape I want to hit, like that's really all that matters, right?
Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I think the confidence is obviously key, and you can get the most out of it you can, but you need to be able to somewhat do what you're trying to do.
All right, you're holding driver. Is this now the final step of your warm-up, or are you still a little bit to go?
It is, yeah.
All right.
So, I mean, depending on the course I'm playing, I mean, I'll hit some 5-woods. I'll hit, maybe 1 or 2 5-woods. I'll hit a couple 3-woods and some drivers. I mean, if it's a place that I'm hitting a lot of 3-woods off the tee, I'll hit more 3-woods and drivers. Or if it's, hey, I have a couple par 5s that I may hit 3-wood in, I'll hit a couple off the ground. But, I'll have some weeks where I'm only hitting 4 or 5 drivers in a day, and then I'll have some where I'm hitting basically all drivers, so then I'll spend more time. But I don't hit a lot of drivers unless I feel like there's something I need to work on or a couple shots that I need to practice. But sometimes I'll kind of mess around, hit some different shots. I'll just kind of hit a stock one here, should fade a little.
God, that's good.
Thank you.
What's the scariest driving golf course that you play?
Scariest driving golf course.
Or even specific tee shot, if that comes to mind more easily.
I remember the old Houston golf course, that 18th hole. I hated that tee shot so bad.
Yeah.
I hated it. I mean, it was like, I played that tournament, I think, twice, but I couldn't, it just didn't fit my eye. Like, if you hit it in the right bunker, it's like, it was like a 4-3. It just, I hated
So what do you
that
do
tee
when you
shot.
hate a tee shot?
Well, now I play smart. I mean, I've really gotten this way at Sawgrass. If now knowing it, people could pay attention or you could notice it, but like I've gotten to the point on 18 where, more so the first couple of days, but they'll have that back pin, or you'll get a north wind one day and that wind's in off the left, and I'm like, I don't like hitting driver, starting it over the water. I don't really like holding something against it, and if I just push it, it's gonna go in the trees. So I just take it as a par 5. I'll hit 5 wood, and I've done it twice now, and I've parred it both times. It's like, what I can't do is make a 7 or a 6. Like, if I make 5 on that hole when it's playing like that, it's fine. It's not going to kill me. Yeah, I'd rather make par, but it's like kind of how I said earlier about almost changing your game plan based on how you're feeling, of just like, look, this isn't one of my spots to be aggressive, so just take your medicine and go, kind of thing.
Did you ever wake up anxious about that tee shot when you won on 18, kind of turning over hard and bounding up the edge of the water there?
Yeah, like I wake up and I dreamt that it kicked in the water instead of straight. I haven't quite had one of those, but I'm definitely happy the way it panned out.
All right, so are you thinking of that as a fade? That's like fading like a yard with the wind.
Yeah, I mean, it's not.
It's
again,
just really
if
good.
If there was no wind, it probably wouldn't be a fade, but
It'd just basically be a dead straight.
I mean, it feels like a straight-ish drive to
All
me.
right.
So like I usually will hit a couple of these while I'm playing. They're kind of like my bullet, I would call it.
So you just teed it up a little bit lower. Is there anything else that you're
I tee
doing?
it lower and I just choke down on it, and I do everything the same. I don't try to hit down on it or lean on it. I just try to hit very standard kind of shot, but because it's teed down lower, I naturally will hit a little. I'll hit more left or more zeroed, if you will, like not as much up on it.
Okay.
So the shot shape with this is usually just start a little left with a little fade as well.
Oh, that's a nice low one. I'm struck by, like, I think of you as being a guy that works it more than certain other players on tour, like more creative, more of a shot shaper, shot maker, but all of your adjustments seem very small and nuanced.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a couple balls in your ball position here. It's just like, if you're gonna hit a bigger cut, say, are you gonna like open up your stance or do anything dramatically different?
I think the at least for me, everybody's different. Obviously, there's going to be people that are more technical. I'm not on that side, but yeah, it's just like, you know, if I was hitting at that tree and you set me up here, like my athletic ability would figure out a way to hit it there.
You could do it.
Like you just, and I wouldn't sit here and be like, okay, I'm going to swing this much to the left. It's like, okay, if I'm aiming over here and I need it to come down on that tree, like I kind of feel it out a little bit and just go from there.
Come on around.
So I think that's why
That's
like
so good.
alignment is so important, because amateur golfers get into bad habits of everybody aims right. And then because, you know, how often do you see guys that set up and they're doing this because of how far right they're aiming, and what do? They slash across it because that's how they have to get it back there.
I was just gonna say, what's the most common advice you give like during a pro-am round?
Hit more club, hands down. No amateur ever hits enough club. They are just infatuated with that 7-iron that they one time hit 180 yards with all that roll, and every time they're 180 yards, they hit 7-iron. So
that's how far I hit it. Yeah.
I'm like, guys, no offense, you're not good enough to be hitting the wrong club every time. Like, you need to at least do yourself a favor.
Right.
So I hit low one earlier. Here's a little higher one.
Teed up nice and high.
This will be the one that I'll get.
Is it still a little fade, or what direction's this moving?
Yeah, it's a relatively straight ball, but yeah, I mean, this is going to launch quite a bit different. This is kind of the drive I hit when I won another 10 or 15 yards in the air.
Oh, wow. That launched. So that's high. and obviously really far. How far is that going to fly? Say there's no wind out here.
Probably 315-ish, something like
315.
that. So I mean, it's like when I lift my left foot like that, just from messing around, it's like a instant kind of like 2 to 4 club head speed, so 3 to 5, 6 ball speed.
Yeah.
And it's a good, 10 to 15 carry. It's honestly a place like Augusta, you can use it a good bit given the certain or correct wind conditions.
But certain holes, there's a wide area.
In South Africa, I couldn't use it all. There was no holes that really needed a forced carry, and it also was like hitting down a runway every hole, so I didn't feel the need to use it.
And have you always been able to hit the ball that far, or have you really like picked up a bunch of yardage the last few years?
No, I definitely did into junior golf. In high school, I probably got a little longer. I've always kind of been off the ground. And,
yeah, you've always swung so hard
but
at
I've
the ball.
needed to, because I've been really tiny. So it was kind of one of those things like swing hard, and then you eventually, I grew into myself a little bit. I would say once I got to end of high school and then college, I was maybe on the longer side compared to who I was playing with, but it took a little while. I need you to stand with me every warm-up.
I mean, this is unbelievable. I don't think you've missed a shot yet. What's ball speed on that?
That's right now. It's probably like
TrackMan.
low 70s if I had to guess. I'm not moving too quickly.
Yeah. What's the highest ball speed you've ever hit?
193.
Seriously?
Yeah, but that was like I did like this.
Yeah, but still.
It was a day where I was screwing around, but I think 86 is the highest I've ever gotten in competition.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, if I can get to 180, that's moving it good for me. But I'm generally in the mid to high 70s, I would say, temperature depending.
All right, let's hit one more driver, and then I'll just maybe have you hit
Any
a couple
kind of drive,
wedges.
what do you want to see?
I
Anything particular?
I want you to hit like a hook.
A hook?
Left to right wind. I want you to just hook it back into this wind so that it's chasing along the ground.
Okay, so go a little lower. Kind of like the 16 at Sawgrass.
Yeah, 16 at Sawgrass, like tumbling around the corner there.
Kind of do this on 10 at Augusta sometimes 13.
So what are you doing? You're closing your stance a little bit.
Yeah, I really, it's again, I'm not trying to change very much. Yeah, I'm definitely closing my stance, and as you can see, I'm just shutting the club face down at address. And I almost just feel like I swing completely normal.
Okay.
And just let it hook. And then you heel it, and it goes way right.
All right, that's their first miss all day. I mean, you also would very rarely would hit this golf shot unless you probably had some serious like visual cues telling you had to.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of, when you're at home, you got to get creative. Like, I could try to, I'm going to try to kind of, it's hard to hook it that much with the wind, but start it just right to those 2 posts down there and kind of turn it, use almost like that tree and that pin as my fairway.
All right, and if you don't, it's dead. It's water, it's OB.
Both sides?
Don't go right. No,
But
left,
don't go right.
You can go further left, but that's just trees on the left. I mean, that's a pretty sweet bullet. It's not hooking as much as I wanted, but you do have like 20 miles an hour coming off the left.
I think I'd have to go.
You'd have to get more extreme.
I'd have to go high. When
right.
it's at low, it's starting so right.
That's bad caddying by me.
No, it's okay.
Oh, that's pretty fun. Oh yeah. That's still going left, even with the wind.
Look at it, it's just bare.
That's a strong
wind.
It's always going to be kind of windy out here, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's just hit a couple wedge shots. We got 68, 106, and 130 to these 3. So what? You want to just hit 1 to each?
Sure. 68.
And then we'll call it good. 68. What do you always use a 60 for a shot of this length?
Most of the time, yeah. It'd have to be either super soft greens, super windy, or maybe some kind of strange pin. But it's on this angle, it's kind of just straight off the left, maybe a little hurt. So probably be trying to hit it pretty close to that 68 number.
Flushed it.
Ooh, firm green.
firm green. What's the best wedge shot you've ever hit in your
Best
career?
shot I've ever hit.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I'd say the wedge in Mexico on 18.
Oh yeah.
Just given
It
the
went
circumstances.
in the hole. Yeah, yeah.
What'd you say the next one was?
106.
So 106. That's basically a perfect full sand wedge.
Okay.
But
Because it's probably playing what, a little more?
it depends. I mean, I would like I'm gonna hit a gap wedge because of the amount of wind.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a little hurt. So with the gap wedge, it's probably only gonna play 110, but I'd probably have to go up near 115 if I hit sand wedge. So this would be one where it's taking a lot off of a gap wedge, but because of it, it's gonna stay quite a bit lower and be more controlled. Might have taken too much off of it. Just a little bit.
No, a little forward bounce though. Have you played, I guess obviously you've played this golf, but have you played 18 hole rounds out here?
I played one.
Okay, that's
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
With Smiley?
Yep, with Smiley.
Nice. You said you made it look easy, but
130 something, you said?
131.
Okay, so I'll let you call. Do you wedge or 9-iron? They're both fine.
I mean, I think it's a wedge. Because I think the wind has kind of switched to more left to right instead of
Okay.
into. And I think you're a strong guy.
Thank you.
How far left of the flag are you going to start it?
I'm gonna kind of start it between like the left edge of the green and the hole.
Okay.
So again, I can feel like I can kind of hit a normalish shot.
Mm-hmm.
If I keep somewhat of a decent flight on it, should be like a 136, 137 shot.
Man.
Just started a little far right.
Yeah. Oh, sent it too.
That one got right in the wind a little bit.
Yeah.
I might need a do-over on that one.
Yeah, let's try again.
Let's go maybe 130.
All right, let's walk it off with this one. A little wedge. Could have given you a bad yardage too. No, this is gonna
That's
be good.
actually a good point. I think you did give me a bad yardage. It's
Oh,
never my
yeah.
fault. You know that.
6 feet for birdie. Justin, thanks for warming up with us.
Absolutely, dude. Thank you.